This is Callie Cowdery reporting live from Washington, D.C. In other news, our president, as of 1969, has decided that the only way to get troops out of Vietnam is to play China and the USSR off each other and to use both their help to force Vietnam to surrender. Dr. Henry A. Kissinger, Nixon's national security advisor, has been meeting throughout 1969 with North Vietnam to negotiate their surrender. Meanwhile, he has also been preparing Nixon to fulfill his plans with Beijing and Moscow. In July of 1971, Nixon agreed to visit Communist China. The next year, in February 1972, he fulfilled his promise. There, Nixon agreed to the One China policy, saying that America would no longer support Taiwan. In May 1972, Nixon traveled to Moscow as well, where he created an air of détente, also known as a relaxed tension, and the U.S. agreed to sell the Soviets $750 million worth of wheat, corn, and other grain products. Even better, the Soviets agreed to an anti-ballistic missile treaty, limiting each nation to 2 clusters of defensive missiles. They also began SALT, or Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, and freezing nuclear missiles for 5 years. In 1970, Nixon strongly opposed Marxist Salvador Allende as the president of Chile, and he made an embargo against Chile. In 1973, Allende died, and many people accused the U.S. of interference because the U.S. embraced the new dictator Augusto Pinochet. Nixon's actions truly set the stage for our troops' exit from the war.
Look at this stuff. Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Do you try it? I'm not going to try it. You try it. I'm not going to try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
There are 2 kinds of Life cereals to please all kinds of kids. Regular Life and Cinnamon Life. Make Life cereals part of your nutritious breakfast.
Beep, 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 beep. This week in economics with Megan and Anya. The American economy can no longer bear the success it once had under Lyndon B. Johnson. His Great Society flooded the American economy with too much money for the citizens, depleting the U.S. Treasury. This has created a high demand, but there is not enough production because of faulty machinery and new regulations. The emerging workforce of women after the baby boom has created less skilled labor and hasn't helped with our economic difficulties. While the American economy falls behind, other countries on the world stage aren't being held back. Germany and Japan continue to advance economically and technologically. It seems as though the 70s is going to suffer from economic stagnation. Thank you, and stay tuned for our upcoming scandalous presidential story.
First she squeezes the tomatoes, then she squeezes the melons, and now she's squeezing the new Charmin bathroom tissue. Please don't squeeze the Charmin.
But Mr. Whipple, this new Charmin bathroom tissue is so soft, so squeezably soft. Oh, that soft fragrance.
Mrs. Logan.
Charmin is so deep down, squeezably soft, it's irresistible.
But Mrs. Logan, the sign. Oh, if you only knew, Mrs. Logan. Can't resist it myself. I love to sneak a squeeze on the sly.
Mr. Whipple, please don't squeeze the Charmin.
New squeezably soft Charmin bathroom tissue from Procter & Gamble. Take it home and squeeze it.
Hi, I'm Abby Freemeyer.
And I'm Kelsey Coney.
In 1969, Nixon gave a speech trying to rally support for the war. But Nixon's strategy of Vietnamization showed hope for a war's end. He said he would gradually withdraw our 540,000 troops from South Vietnam and eventually turn the war over entirely to the Vietnamese.
Now, to avoid future situations like this, Nixon created the Nixon Doctrine that said that we would honor our existing defense commitments in Asia. However, in the future,
they would have to fight without the aid of U.S. troops. However, now the situation is a bit different, so we have Nick Roberts out in the field to give you an updated report. Let's go take a look.
Thanks, Kelsey and Abby. I'm Nick Roberts, here at the demilitarized zone between North Vietnam and South Vietnam. Whew, it's dangerous around here. Just months ago, North Vietnam crossed the demilitarized zone into South Vietnam, causing Nixon to put bombing raids upon North Vietnam to hold their offensive line. Don't mind me. I'm still being precautious over the recent bombing raids. Just recently, Nixon ordered a 2-week bombing raid on North Vietnam in hopes that they come to a peace treaty agreement. Just 3 days ago, North Vietnam agreed to a ceasefire agreement. But the peace is still pretty shaky. Whoa, I better get out of here.
Thank you, Nick Roberts, for that detailed report. And now back in the studio. For many years, the North Vietnamese have been using Cambodia for troops, weapons, and supplies. In April of 1970, Nixon put the U.S. forces with the Southern Vietnamese to clean out the enemy in Cambodia. After violent protests broke out, Nixon withdrew the troops 2 months later. But now there is much conflict within the U.S. because the U.S. citizens believed that the military was respecting Cambodia's neutrality. However, it was discovered that the military was secretly bombing the North Vietnamese in Cambodia. This false information has caused many people to begin to distrust the government. As a result, Congress has passed the War Powers Act. This act requires President Nixon to report all foreign commitments of the U.S. military within 48 hours.
This year, fashion loves the big, big curl. The big, big curl loves tippity-doo. Tippity-doo. Rollers cling to tippity-doo. Never slip, never drip. Now rollers out. Curl is in. Really in with tippity-doo. 'Cause nothing holds like tippity-doo. Holds and holds like tippity-doo. Big curls need big holds, so hold it with tippity-doo.
Now it's time for a Supreme Court update. President Nixon and Chief Justice Earl Warren's differences have continued to escalate. Warren's decisions in cases such as Gideon v. Washington of 1963 gave defendants of criminal cases the right to a lawyer. In 1964 and 66 cases Escobedo and Miranda respectively, Warren ruled in favor of the right to remain silent as well as other rights for prisoners. In 1965, Griswold v. Connecticut, Warren ruled in favor of canceling state laws banning contraception. In 1964, New York Times v. Sullivan, Warren decided that public figures could sue for libel with the proof of malice. In 2 of his earlier decisions of 1962 and 63, Angel v. Vital in the School District of Abington Township v. Skemp stopped the reading of prayers and other religious activities in public schools. In 1964, Reynolds v. Sims declared that state legislative representatives would have to be based entirely after human population. As a result of these outrageous case decisions, Nixon appointed appointees who would only interpret the Constitution in his favor. As of 1969, the Senate agreed to his appointment of new Chief Justice Warren E. Burger to replace the retiring Earl Warren. By the end of 1971, Nixon had appointed 4 of 9 members. Nixon's appointees did not follow his wishes once they were appointed, and did not reverse Warren's earlier court case decisions. In 1973, Nixon's appointees ruled in favor of abortion in the court case Roe v. Wade.
There's a Frisbee disc for different reasons. For individual, team, and disc golf competitions. There's a Frisbee disc for different seasons, for windy flights, and a glowing disc for warm summer nights. There's a Frisbee disc for a new friend and an old friend. And there's a great new thing, a Frisbee brand flying ring. Season or reason, pick your Frisbee disc or ring and pick up on the fun and freedom. Frisbee brand products, made only by Wham-O.
And now, an interview with the deceased.
Hi, I'm Rachel Carson. You may know me from my book, Silent Spring, exposing the disastrous effects of pesticides, creating a newfound interest in environmentalism and conservatism. The movement that started in the 50s is now being incorporated by President Nixon.
Rachel, what do you think of Nixon's environmental actions, such as creating Environmental Protection Agency and the Occupational Health and Safety Administration?
Well, these programs have made great progress in reducing air pollution and doing things like reducing automobile emissions and cleaning up waterways and toxic sites. Although, I am disappointed that Congress has refused to pay for more irrigation projects in the Arid West that have been benefiting farmers for the past 50 years.
Rachel, how do you feel about the environment?
Well, George, I am one with the environment. It brings me joy like nothing else in this world can.
Our President. President Nixon surprised us all by expanding funding for liberal welfare programs, initially set up by Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society Plan. Programs including Medicare, Medicaid, and AFDC, aid to families with dependent children, all received a greater allocation of funds. Another program he created, the Supplemental Security Income, also known as SSI, gave benefits to the old, the blind, the poor, and the disabled. One unpopular additional program Nixon has put in place is the Philadelphia Plan of 1969, which required federally paid construction unions to have a quota of black employees and hours. This changed the definition of affirmative action to include preferable treatment on groups, not individuals. Whites protested this as reverse discrimination. Republican counterparts greatly opposed these liberal actions. The expansion of welfare programs, however, isn't the most shocking action done by our President Nixon. Anya?
Thank you, Megan. June 17th, 5 men working for the Republican Committee for the re-election of the president were caught breaking into the Watergate Hotel and wiretapping rooms, resulting in numerous resignations of the president's close administration members, who were then tried in court. Nixon himself refused to hand over taped evidence of the corruption. Some of the resignations included the Vice President, Spiro Agnew, for tax evasion, and the Attorney General and Deputy General for not wanting to fire the prosecutor in the Watergate scandal. It seems as if our president is into some shady business.
Very true, Anya.
Thank you.